So, hi, my name is Oleg,
And here's Alex.
and we're here to talk to you about the future of sovereign AI. I'm a member of the Apertus team at the EPFL AI Center. I'm working closely with the ETH AI Center, who you can also meet at my colleagues here just behind here. And we're developing the Apertus platform. And today I'm very proud to host Alex, who's going to talk to us about the Helvetrus project. So we're going to try to go through a couple of slides, share with you a few things that may be new to you, and then we'll leave lots of time for questions, and you can just approach us and ask us questions afterwards. Can you hear us? Yes, it works? Okay, great.
Okay, that's so
Maybe
weird.
we can sit down. So, just a few words about me. Ipi Badner, so I'm a local actually, and I've been a freelance consultant and startup founder and software engineer and data engineer for many years. I recently joined the EPFL AI Center and to work on a project that I've been looking forward to and contributing to for the past couple of years. The EPFL AI Center basically is a platform to learn about the future of AI. We have lots of events, publications, you can check them out on our website. Today I would like to talk to you about this idea of sovereign AI. Maybe you've already heard this discussed in the media or by large tech companies. The basic idea is that AI is everywhere, AI is changing the world, but AI is not evenly distributed. And the idea is that if AI is governed by external entities, then we have problems. We have legal problems, we have practical problems. And so we sometimes feel like the little fish there in the middle of the screen, and all sides we have these providers and these large companies, multinationals, doing things with AI, and we just don't understand what's going on. We also have to remember we're in a bit of a Cambrian explosion. There's just so much new ideas, so many new products right now, and some of them will be around in the long term and others not. That's the startup life. There's also this concept of public AI, the idea that AI is becoming like a public infrastructure. It is replacing or extending IT, and like electricity and water, it should be just provisioned. It's almost on the level of human rights to have access to AI in the future. And right now, in this creation of public goods, we need to align ourselves. We need to bring together people, organizations, institutions that are a little bit in the same boat, and we need to look like a big fish in order to try not to get swallowed by something bigger than us. The Swiss AI initiative is a relatively new platform that groups together the academic institutions around Switzerland. It is headed by the ETH Zurich and EPFL, together with the Swiss Supercomputing Center in Lugano. And the idea is that we have a supercomputer in Switzerland, one of the fastest in the world, and we are distributing access to it to many projects in order that leading edge, highly complex AI research and development can be done in Switzerland. There's actually a program you can learn more about. We have grant applications. If you're interested in collaborating with a research group at any Swiss university, you can apply for compute hours and get access to this platform for your developments. That's what we did with Apertus. We had trained uniquely in Switzerland a first open research-based AI model. It was released last September to a lot of discussion in the media and community. Maybe you've already heard about it. It is essentially two models. Apertus is not a product that is ready to use out of the box. It is a research platform, but it can be integrated into the development of products like the ones Alex will talk to you about in a minute. There's a couple of unique characteristics about Apertus. First of all, global representations. We have a world trend-sending number of languages that are understood by the system. Over 1,800 languages, dialects, local regional writing schemes are understood by Apertus. This is because we have taken extreme pains to understand linguistic diversity, and it's actually an international collaboration that is happening around this project to really push the frontier of understanding of language. We have currently 40% non-English content. That is actually a very high number, considering just how much English language there is on the internet. The other thing is we are a completely open model, so it's a transparent platform for research and development. It is Apache 2.0 licensed, so it's open source, and anyone can download it and use it since September 2nd from our website. And it's something that you can put into an AI solution, so it could be part of your AI system. And another thing is, being Swiss, we care a lot about compliance, we care a lot about legality. So we have embedded the EU AI Act, Swiss data protection norms, really directly into the model as a form of guardrail. We have trained it on legal documentation. We're continuing to work closely with legal professionals to try to make this a model that is as responsible as possible from an ethical and from a legal perspective. We are soon going to release Apertus 1.5. This is the next version. That's just a placeholder logo, but it was made with our first version of Apertus. And it's going to be a lot more data. Sorry, there's a little mistake on the slide. We'll be adding 2 trillion more tokens to the base, and we're working on strategic areas like health, education, and justice, where partnering organizations are contributing data to improve the strength of the model in those areas. We're going to add also multimodality, so you can talk to the model using audio, and you can upload images. That was missing in the first release. And what the industry and startups really want is agentic skills. So making the model follow instructions means that you can connect it to MCP services and other ways of automating the tasks that you want to do. This is by using reinforcement learning, a technique that we're applying right now. So just to go back a step, why should we build our own models? Why in this little country of Switzerland do we need to do this? Well, there's a couple of reasons we think are important. One is the legal necessity, I've kind of mentioned already. Then there's the autonomy. As a research institutions, we want to be able to decide what the priorities are. We don't want to wait for commercial partners to do so, or even for foreign research groups. We would also like to make sure that there's high amount of scientific integrity, and we can reproduce the experiment, and it can be taken apart and studied. And of course, deployment control is what's the most interesting consideration, I think, to startups and industry. Companies who want to use AI need to be able to do it within their firewall, on their own terms, use the data as they feel is safe and secure. And this is just a quick sample of what's been going on in the industry over the past couple of years. In black, you see the performance of AI models, in terms of their intelligence, being increasingly matched by the open models in blue. So the distinction between how performant a product like, let's say, ChatGPT or Claude is compared to an open weight model, which you can just download from the internet and run within your own infrastructure, is closing. And you're being sold this idea that AI is something you have to go out there and buy, but actually it's becoming more and more realistic to build it yourself. And why do we think open matters? Well, first of all, we're a democracy here in Switzerland, and we would like to make sure that projects of critical strategic importance can be governed by a wide diversity of actors. So this is why in the Swiss AI initiative, we include many research institutions, but also input from legal people from policy areas into the guidance, into the development of this project. We would like to address serious issues in terms of cultural bias and make sure there's really good oversight into projects like this. This is what makes trustworthiness possible, because many people looking at the projects, signaling problems, this is how local interest gets preserved and how we can achieve also our scientific goals. And finally, the regulatory gap. We feel that without having an open model, the companies are not actually meeting legal requirements right now, especially with this AI Act that's going to come into force over the next months. It requires transparency. It requires you to know what your data sources are, and keeping it legal is a real challenge that we need to address. So I'm going to skip over this. This is more just to say that performance matters at very different levels. So it's not just, you're going to see a lot of these benchmarks that are telling you one AI is better than another. At the end of the day, you have to look at your actual use case. Whether it's creative writing or mathematics, the performance can be very different when you look at specific domains. So there's a lot of these projects out there. We're not the only ones. There's also OpenURLLM, URLLM in Europe. There's the Olmo model from the US. There's people in the Middle East and Asia working also within this area of building models as a non-profit institution. There's a much larger array of open weight models. Yesterday we had a conference here in Bern, the Open Source AI conference. A figure was announced, 2.7 million AI models are currently on the same platform where we're publishing. That's just an enormous playing field, and a lot of collaboration and competition is happening within this ecosystem. And finally, the closed models, that's the ones that we know as consumers, OpenAI, Anthropic, and so on. You can see there's a very strong US base on that equation, but increasingly also there are more and more closed models with competitive pricing coming out of China and other countries. So we really want to put Switzerland on the map, and that's what we did with Apertus. We did that by taking an enormous amount of data, 15 trillion tokens, and compressing it into a single model. Using this machine, the Alps supercomputer in Lugano, is what we used to train this model. It is a hydro-powered and lake water-cooled facility, which makes our AI model actually one of the most sustainable products in this category out there. it is also just a continuous effort to measure the energy use. Sustainability is very important to us. So we've really looked at exactly how many GPUs we used, how much computation was involved, and we figured that it's about the same as running an SBB locomotive for those months at full speed, right? So that's kind of to give you a relative picture of how much energy is involved in creating even a modestly sized AI model. And now you can extrapolate that by a factor of 100 or 1,000 and to arrive at the amount of energy that's going into the frontier models around the world. So low emissions is a big thing we want to differentiate on, but of course for us in research it's about the architecture, it's about the science. So we have developed new models, new approaches to overcoming the limitations within our particular context, and we're really encouraging students and professors to work on this domain of LLM development. We have also 2 courses with a long waiting list. Hundreds of students are graduating now with new skills in development of LLMs that was not possible before, and they're using this infrastructure and our model to build those skills right now. So a next generation in Switzerland is being built. Just coming back quickly to the topic of du jour, and this is where I'm going to hand off to Alex in just a minute. I want to come back to that figure of 1,800 languages. So we have a couple of papers if you want to know a bit more in depth. Basically, we have supported the creation of special benchmarks to understand how language actually fits in within a cultural context. It's not just about one-to-one translation of the words, of course. It's about the grammar, it's about the semantics of understanding. And we're working not just on this data mix as just raw ability to translate, but also as a very important way to bridge cultural gaps. We would like you to be able to build a product, let's say an app, using AI that is not just translatable into another linguistic context, but actually translatable into another cultural context. So AI makes really interesting things possible when it comes to representing the cultures of the world and actually supporting and encouraging as much diversity as possible. Everything that I'm sharing with you, you can find in our report. This is the world's first full 119-page guide of how to train how to train an LLM from scratch, right? And you will find there's a large team that was involved, and it has links to all the data, all the scripts, all the checkpoints. Nobody did this before. We were the first to really open up the whole process, and now many people are already using this to build their own LLMs, and this is being cited around the world and really making an impact. Of course, people are doing benchmarks. This is a little bit on the performance of the model. I'm not going to go into this about detail. Alex can tell you himself from his experience. What I just want to mention that international collaboration is also very important to us. So we've had 2.7 million downloads just of our own model on Hugging Face. That's where it's hosted. We've had lots of quantizations and fine-tunes. This is where the community takes the model and creates its own model. So, for example, in Singapore, they created C-Line, a model that based on the Apertus model that introduces additional capability, additional skills, in particular in Southeastern Asian languages, right? So that's the idea that you take an LLM and you kind of make it your own by adding additional data that's specific to your industry or your context. And we work a lot with the public sector. In the canton of Ticino, in particular, was recently announced. We have this app from the company Artificially, which is an internal translation tool already being piloted within the cantonal administration based on Apertus and using that same approach. Where do you find Apertus? Well, you can find it in a lot of providers already today. There's over 10 companies in Switzerland and many internationally that already just have it in their AI store, and you can just connect to Infomaniac or Swisscom and you can just start using Apertus right away. Or you can download it and use it in various different kinds of software packages. The easiest way to try Apertus right now, actually there is an even better way to try Apertus right now. Alex will tell you how. For the past 6 months, we've been telling people to go to Public AI, and this is a demo that we have running. But now, can you play some? I hand it over to Alex.
Thanks, Oleg. Okay, great, thanks. So I'm going to speak a little bit from the outside world. So I'm not part of Apertus, but I'm using Apertus. And so I'm going to tell you a little more about Helvetra. So what is Helvetra? Helvetra is a translation tool. So it translates from any Swiss language to any Swiss language, including Swiss German and Romansh. And the question is going to be, but why? There are so many translators around, right? You can just tap into Google and have the answers in whatever language, all the languages out there. So why would you actually want to do that? And you can say, well, maybe you don't want to have the data in US, but then you have DeepL in Germany, etc. But actually, so I'm founder of another company called Peerdom, and we do have Swiss companies that work on an international level, like the Swiss Army or SRG or HEX, and they actually swim in this kind of Röstigraben of different languages. And Röstigraben isn't just about potatoes, but back to the pain itself. The thing is that this loomed for quite some time in Peerdom, and we were searching for solutions. And when I got the news last summer that Apertus is coming out, and then we're working with Infomaniac, and then Infomaniac basically hosted it, I was like, oh, this is the perfect moment to actually try it out. And so that's that. That's how it looks when you go to helvetra.ch. It's a translation tool. It translates, as said, from any Swiss language plus English to any Swiss language, including Swiss German with different dialects. Now, I don't know if anyone speaks Swiss German here. I actually don't. but the Swiss German right now is not really good. And I've been to the Uphill Conf 2 weeks ago, where I spoke to Imanol, who is one of the lead from Apertus, and he said, well, currently the model, although it's a Swiss model, has been only trained 1 day on Swiss German. So, for 1 day, I think it's pretty good. It also shows that the fact that it has been trained on a very high diversity of languages make it actually really powerful to learn quickly new languages. So let's hope that version 1.5 is better with Swiss German, so that you can really translate in Swiss German or from Swiss German to another Swiss language. The other detail I want to share here is just a small thumbs up, thumbs down. So actually, Helvetra is doing something no other translation tool does. It doesn't track any information. So the text you type is sent to Apertus. Apertus basically sends it back, or on Infomaniac servers, it sends it back and it shows it here. I don't track anything. There is no database of whatever you have typed. It's only if you say, oh, this was a good translation or this was a bad translation, that it says, hey, thanks for the feedback. Are you okay that I actually track this so that I can learn from this feedback? So that's the only thing we would track. Yeah. Now, the thing is, when you use an LLM to translate, obviously an LLM tends to not only translate but try to be intelligent. And this is a typical example of early users that tried the translation who said, well, it's not just translating, it's actually answering or writing poems or whatever. So this is a typical screenshot of what I receive currently. And obviously that's always a challenge when you work with LLM, is to frame it into exactly what you wish and not anything else. I think if you ask today, it's not going to answer your question anymore, but you can try. Exactly, so maybe quick here too. Helvetra is fully open source, so the front end, the back end, and the iOS source code is actually on GitHub. So you can go on GitHub and find it out. I've actually also built an API, so you can also, if you want, or if it's easier for you, you can pay to actually get the API. So we have B2B and B2C solutions to test it out. And I mean, the best would be simply, we only have it on iPhone, but if you have an iPhone, you can just go download. You can use it for free. I think there is a limit of 20,000 characters, but at least you can play with it and see. And yeah, that's it. Really happy to answer your questions afterwards. I think, Oleg, you still have a couple of things to say, so.
I'll just wait until everyone scanned that code and started to download Helvetra. Anyone, any Apple, iOS users here? Please install the app right now. You'll be like among the first, what?
Yeah, so we have about 300 users.
What?
But from those 300, only 2 are paying. So it's really...
Okay. Yeah, so let's also have more paying users to support grassroots, locally made, Bern-made and open source developments, because it's not easy to come up with a business model that's really going to click. And you're also the developer of another app, so this is going to be very interesting to see whether Helvetra gets picked up and how is it actually adopted. But those features you're talking about in terms of not tracking your users, but also giving them the opportunity to contribute, and having the control over the consent process instead of just those cookie banners that just appear and then just you can't really trust them anyway, whatever you say. This is really something we need to push for across the whole digital scene here in Switzerland, I think. So I think your app does a lot of things right. It's a great use case, and we would love to.
Cool.
And also somebody else can develop the Android app because it's open source, right?
Yeah, sure. Please.
If you have an Android phone, just vibe code it. Maybe this afternoon there'll be a new project on GitHub.
Exactly.
With Helvetra on Android. So we'll take a few more questions, unless there's any questions right now, to Alex. Yes? Then I will continue just for a couple more slides just to tell you a little bit about the ecosystem we're trying to develop for developers like yourself. So we have the venture team. They're actually just behind us over there. On the 15th of June, there will be a big prize-giving ceremony at the EPFL in the Swiss Tech Convention Center, where the first prize will be announced to projects that are utilizing Apertus. And these are startups and spin-outs who have developed some kind of new idea together with Apertus. So this is a way of really promoting and making more development possible. And you can already talk to the organizers of this competition to see how you can take part in the next round, or what kind of use cases do you see what kind of business models are really facilitated by access to cutting-edge sovereign AI. We are also going to support another edition of the AI Weeks. I see Daniel, he's in the room. He's the man with the plan when it comes to getting the message out there across the country, to within politics, within industry, within the farthest corner. Daniel is going to make it happen again, I hope. That we have lots of cities engaging in hackathons where people just can spend the time with a platform like this. So we had 50 Apertus prototypes developed last year, and I hope a lot more will be made available, especially now that Apertus 1.5 addresses some key demands, some key concerns that were expressed last year, such as what you also mentioned, this instruction following, this ability to really precisely tell the model what it should do, whether it's your legal work or your biomedical imaging. You have to be able to very precisely work with LLMs, and that's a key concern we're addressing, for which we will have a new release in time for the next Swiss AI Weeks. We also have a platform for industry. So if you are representing a large or medium-sized company, you can write an email to our industry team if you would like to have access to our ecosystem. We have basically 3 levels. Swisscom is our strategic partner, really contributing to the research on a long-term basis. We have members who are creating a network amongst themselves with us, working with our students. Often they would also apply to the compute grants I mentioned at the beginning, use the supercomputing facilities for one of their verticals, their use cases. We have the SME Circle. This is something I run. If you have any questions about that, just talk to me. This will be on June 17th as our next community meeting. It's completely open access, doesn't cost anything. It's a chance to talk to the Apertus team, meet use case developers like Alex, ask questions about AI. And the next one will be at the ETH AI Center. So that's our platform. Oh yes, there we go, June 17th. Here's where you can find us, in the Andreas Turm next to Orlikon. And we also have a newsletter. So that's our website, Apertus, spelled with a V, that's right. Because if you spell it with a U, that's not our website. We were a bit slow with that domain. So anyway, Apertus spelled with a V.ai is where you can subscribe to the newsletter. There's also instructions on everything I mentioned, how to download Apertus, where to try it. We're going to feature Alex's app there very soon. In the meantime, you can subscribe to the newsletter and get invited to future events. That's it for our presentation. What would you like to know about LLMs? Yes, please. You tell me and I'll repeat your question.
So my question is, when you have open source models, how do you handle the revenue streams and the investors when they ask how defensible is the company? Because we have a similar idea, but I have no answer for these kind of questions. Thank you.
Well, let me just wait. I was hearing myself. Well, there is no big strategy right now. It's just I thought, well, I'm using an open source model. I think it's really cool to just try to use this tool. Also, Oleg told me, hey, you're actually the first who brought something to the App Store, and I was like, well, why not open source it and see if people at least like it, if they share it, if they try something out. It's really the early. I'm not doing any marketing. I'm not trying to basically build a strong model to survive from it in the next year, because I have my own other business and I'm also working somewhere. So I really didn't build that to sustain myself. I rather build that because I thought the product here outside is just awesome, and let's just do something. I don't know if that answers your question. But
And would you be terribly disappointed if Helvetia is just used in, let's say, 20 cantons and not much anywhere else?
I mean, it would be amazing already. And the thing is, I think we're going to use it inside of my other company because it solves that pain that I shared at the very beginning. So just the fact that, worst case, the other company just buys it and say, well, we're going to use Helvetia inside of the... But just the fact that I've built something that solves a problem from another company, I think it shows that there are certainly other companies that have the same pain.
So eating your own dog food, if I may borrow a very American expression, as opposed to eating other people's dog food.
Correct. And precisely, therefore, using Apertus and on Infomaniac, so really this pure Swissness that I show on this website.
So we'll see how investors respond to that I think very soon, as these first startups start emerging from these competitions and hackathons. Do we have any other questions? Yes, please.
Thanks a lot, really nice presentation. So can you tell us a little bit more what was the most fun part in all of this project, and where could the ecosystem help to make it even more fun?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, obviously one of the fun part was the results, the early results, where I got email from people just saying, huh? Like, I think the first one I received was a screenshot from the iPhone where someone wrote, today is Wednesday, and the chat responded, no, today is Thursday. And I was like, well, it's not translation. That's one part. Just the second part is, I actually have a background as a computer scientist, but it's been, 10 years that I haven't really coded. And with the entire AI coming, I was actually able to build this quickly, thanks to also having, agents help me build that. So that's something I would never have been able to build, knowing that I have a family, I have another business, and I'm working in another company. But the fact that we have this technology enables me actually to have fun with those kind of projects. So that's really cool. And I think it's also, and I would recommend that to younger people that are maybe not here today, but just to say, you're going to learn so much more by actually doing stuff than the theory. And I think that what I've learned within doing that in just evenings actually made me know so many things that I would use again for another startup or another idea. So, yeah.
Then I'm quite curious, so you used coding agents for Swift for iOS. How did it work? Because from what I've understood, they usually sucks with the Swift and iOS development. It's more a technical question, but I'm curious.
Yeah. So first off, I did not use Apertus to code. So I just need to announce that. So I've used Cloud Code, mostly, yeah. Actually, Opus wasn't out there yet when I started, but it helped me. Well, I think it did a tremendous job on Swift, but I mean, if you find bugs, maybe your argument is right. It was pretty tricky to get the right UI. So I had an idea of the UI I wanted to build, and it's true that Cloud Code and other agents coding have a very basic idea of what UI UX should be, and every second website looks the same. And I had something that was quite different for iOS as an idea. And so the trickiest part was actually not the entire logic, but really the experience of the user in the UI. That was a little tricky, but I wouldn't have done better than the agent. Yeah.
Maybe if I can just add to that. so today, with the current release, it's not possible, but very much agentic capabilities are on the roadmap for Apertus. We already have plans for Apertus 2.0, which is targeted to come out at the end of the year, and it'll have mixture of experts. It will have even better reinforcement learning, and we're very keen to find additional data sources. So this is actually an appel to everybody who's in the industry, in the field. If you are aware of good sources of reference for your specific, technical use case, for example, excellent reference libraries of function calls, and also if you can embed features like Alex did with the thumbs up and thumbs down into your products and release that data to us as open data under open conditions, then it can be incorporated to strengthen the model in the future. And we really need, I think, the technical industry in Switzerland that is developing coding solutions or industrial solutions to start seeing Apertus as a project of national significance, and they would maybe hopefully like to see their logo, their names in the list of data providers to make that possible. But yeah, it is already possible to vibe code a little bit with Apertus if you know how. I can give you a little demo afterwards if you want. But it's something that's going to develop even more in the future, for sure. And maybe even when we'll have one day a Swiss-style, theme or something you can then apply to make your app differentiable. Something like that we could build in.
Yeah, anything is impossible, so let's do it.
You think you had a question, or was there anyone else who wanted to ask a question? Okay, yeah. If there are no more questions, then we can wrap it up here. So if you haven't already, subscribe to our newsletter, send us your feedback, tell us what you would like for the future of sovereign and public AI in Switzerland and globally. We will try to take your message forward to developers like Alex around the country and engineering teams we're working with. Please download Helvetia from the App Store. Anything else?
No, thanks a lot for sharing. We remain around, so I'm also happy to answer any question about Helvetia or just ideas if you want to also do something. Yeah, thanks.
And many thanks to the team at the back for having us and making this a smooth presentation. Thanks very much.